My brother's new wife had no clue I actually owned the house they were living in. "You're a pathetic 40-year-old leech. Get out," she yelled. I couldn't help laughing and said, "Go ahead, try to make me." She called the cops, but when they saw the deed in my name, she was the one who had to leave. Imagine for a second your own brother, the only family you have left, standing by while his new wife, a woman you barely know, calls you a pathetic leech and tells you to get out of your own house. In that moment, after months of emotional manipulation and silent suffering, something inside me finally snapped. Hey everyone. My name's Madison, and at 33, I've poured my heart and soul into building a successful career in real estate. But 3 years ago, my world came crashing down when my parents died in a tragic accident. They left me their beautiful family home, and with Ryan, my younger brother, completely lost in his grief, the solution seemed obvious. I let him move in rent-free to get back on his feet. We'd always been inseparable, even with our 4-year age gap. As the older sister, I always felt this deep need to protect him, especially after all the moving around we did as kids. We were each other's only constant. My parents, God bless them, were all about financial independence. They were so proud when I skipped the traditional career path after college and dove headfirst into real estate. Ryan, on the other hand, was a brilliant graphic designer, really building a name for himself. But when Mom and Dad died, it was like a switch flipped. Ryan spiraled. Within 6 months, he lost his job, his long-term girlfriend left him, and he was completely adrift. Seeing him like that, utterly broken, was unbearable. So, when he mentioned he couldn't afford his apartment anymore, I just said, "Move into the house, Ryan. Take all the time you need. No rent, no pressure." The flicker of relief in his eyes was all I needed. Mom and Dad would have wanted it this way, I told him, and I truly believed it. For about 1.5 years, things were good. Ryan slowly started healing. He picked up freelancing again, even started jogging. We'd go for our Sunday dinners, a little ritual to honor Mom and Dad. Then, Allison arrived. They met at a grief support group Ryan's therapist suggested. She claimed she'd lost her husband 2 years prior. Looking back, I should have seen the red flags, the way she immediately monopolized his time. But I was just so thrilled to see my brother smiling again. Their relationship went from 0 to 100 in record time. 3 months into dating, Ryan called me, practically giddy. "We're getting married," he blurted out. I was speechless. "Wow, Ryan, I managed, that's really fast." He just laughed, "When you know, you know." The wedding was a tiny courthouse affair. I tried to be supportive, despite my gut screaming at me. Allison was blonde, petite, and always impeccably dressed in a way that felt more calculated than casual. At the reception, I noticed her subtly steering Ryan away from me every time I tried to talk to him. Ryan brushed it off, "She's just nervous." But then there were the other things, her correcting his table manners, dismissing his honeymoon ideas with a cutting remark, her cold assessment of my simple pantsuit asking if I ever dressed like a woman. I bit my tongue. Ryan had been through enough. If she made him happy, I'd make an effort. I even gave them a generous wedding check, which Allison practically snatched out of Ryan's hand and into her purse before he could thank me. 2 weeks later, I drove over for Sunday dinner. I brought pie, Mom's recipe, and an orchid. The moment I walked in, I felt disoriented. Our family entryway? Gone. The warm beige walls? Stark white. All the family photos? Vanished. "We've been redecorating," Ryan mumbled, seeing my face. Allison has an amazing eye. Allison, wearing a decorative apron, emerged from the kitchen. Madison, right on time. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. The living room, our cozy family hangout, was now all sleek, expensive, and utterly uninviting. "The place looks different," I said carefully. "It was so outdated," Allison chirped. "All those heavy antiques and dark colors. We're bringing it into this century." I wanted to scream, but I just asked, "Did you store Mom's console table?" It was a family piece. Ryan and Allison exchanged a look. "We donated some things," Allison said breezily. "Can't build a future surrounded by the past, right?" Throughout dinner, Ryan was a shadow of himself, constantly checking Allison's expression before speaking. She kept taking jabs at me. Don't you find it lonely, living all by yourself? No husband, no kids. She laughed. Your biological clock must be ticking pretty loudly. Ryan looked mortified, but said nothing. I've never defined my success by marriage or children, I said, trying to stay calm. But I appreciate your concern. Later, as we cleared dishes, Allison casually mentioned their plans for kitchen renovations. The mortgage is paid off, so we can afford to invest. Mortgage? My heart almost stopped. Ryan knew Mom and Dad had paid cash. I stared at Ryan, who suddenly became fascinated with the dishwasher. He hadn't corrected her. When Allison went to make coffee, I pulled Ryan aside. She thinks you own the house, I whispered. He looked absolutely miserable. Please don't say anything, Maddie. When we met, she just assumed, and I didn't correct her. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit from childhood. You don't understand. Allison values security and success. If she knew I was living in my sister's house rent-free. I shook my head. Ryan, relationships are built on honesty. I'll tell her eventually, he promised. Just not now. Please, Maddie, do this for me. Against my better judgment, I agreed. It was still a family house, I reasoned. As long as Ryan was getting back on his feet, did it really matter? Over the next few weeks, my visits became a nightmare. Allison started making passive-aggressive comments about me dropping by, even when I texted. She questioned why I still had a key to their house. Ryan would shoot me apologetic glances, but stayed silent. More and more family items disappeared. The grandfather clock, Dad's first editions, Mom's hand-painted dishes. When I asked, Allison would offer vague excuses about decluttering. The tension was suffocating. Ryan started making excuses to cancel Sunday dinners. I was losing him, and I didn't know how to stop it. Then, 3 months into their marriage, it all went to hell. One Tuesday, I stopped by unannounced. I needed some tax documents I'd stored in the home office. I'd texted Ryan earlier, but he hadn't replied. Using my key, I let myself in. The house was silent. The hallway, once a timeline of our lives, now had generic hotel art. In the office, my files were missing. The cabinet reorganized. My heart sank when I saw Dad's antique roll-top desk, our precious family heirloom, covered with a cloth, acting as a stand for a giant TV. On impulse, I checked the hidden compartment where Dad kept important things. Empty. Then I saw it. Allison's laptop, left open. An online marketplace listing. My mother's vintage Tiffany lamp, a wedding gift from Grandma, listed for $800. I felt physically ill. They were selling family heirlooms. I quickly snapped a picture, then scrolled through her other listings. Dozens of things I recognized. Dad's books, Mom's. Silver, small oil paintings. Just then, I heard the front door open. Allison's voice. I slammed the laptop shut and headed downstairs, my mind racing. Allison froze when she saw me. Madison, what a surprise. I texted Ryan about some tax documents, I explained, holding up the folder I'd found. Really? He didn't mention it. Her tone was venomous. How did you get in? I used my key, I said, watching Ryan's discomfort. Your key, she repeated flatly. Ryan, I thought we discussed this. Ryan shuffled his feet. I meant to talk to you, Maddie. We value our privacy as a married couple. Allison cut in. It's inappropriate for you to have unrestricted access to our home. I understand privacy, I said, my voice dangerously calm. But this has been our family home for 15 years. I've always had a key. Things change when people get married, Allison said with a tight smile. I'm sure you understand. Or would if you ever settled down. I ignored the jab. Ryan, I said, can we talk privately about the family items that seem to be disappearing? Ryan looked panicked. What items? The Tiffany lamp, Dad's books, Mom's silver, I listed, watching his face fall. I saw the online listings, Ryan. Allison stepped between us. Those things were just gathering dust. We're creating our own home now. Those things, I said, struggling to keep my voice even, are family heirlooms with both monetary and sentimental value. Ryan inherited the contents of the house, Allison stated firmly. He can do whatever he wants with them. I stared at my brother. Is that what you told her? That you inherited everything? Ryan couldn't meet my eyes. Allison, maybe we should discuss this later. There's nothing to discuss, she snapped. Your sister needs to respect our boundaries and our property. The irony. Her claiming ownership of a house that legally belonged to me. But the raw hurt in Ryan's eyes stopped me. Ryan, I said quietly, some of those items mean a lot to me. They're pieces of our parents, our history. For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of the brother I knew. Then Allison placed a hand on his arm, and his expression hardened. We need to make our own history now, Maddie, he said weakly. Maybe you could just take what's important to you. That would be helpful. I agreed, relieved. Just Mom's jewelry box, the family photo albums, and maybe a few of the books. Absolutely not. Allison interrupted. We've already promised the books to a collector, and the jewelry is part of Ryan's inheritance. Something inside me snapped. Ryan, is this really what you want? To erase every trace of our family. Don't manipulate him. Allison hissed. Just because your life is empty doesn't mean you can cling to your brother forever. Ryan finally spoke. Maybe it's best if you go now, Maddie. We can talk about this another time. I left with only my tax documents, feeling hollow. 2 days later, my key no longer worked. Ryan texted an apology. Allison thought it best to change the locks for security reasons. He promised to set aside the items I'd requested, but when I arrived at our agreed meeting time, no one answered. This went on for weeks. Ryan would cancel at the last minute. Then, a month later, I got a text from an unknown number, photos of a storage unit. Not Mom's jewelry box, not the photo albums. Just boxes of old clothes and kitchen items Mom had stored in the attic. Ryan asked me to let you know you can pick these up, the message read. When I called Ryan, Allison answered. Ryan's busy, she said curtly. We've been more than generous. It's time you stopped harassing us. Harassing? I echoed in disbelief. I'm trying to preserve family memories. Family memories, she scoffed. You mean your parents' old junk? Ryan is moving forward with his life. You should try it sometime. She hung up. My subsequent calls went straight to voicemail. Ryan eventually texted that he was taking a break from the drama. I felt like I was losing not just the physical connections to my parents, but my brother as well. I debated what to do. Should I assert my legal ownership and risk destroying my relationship with Ryan completely? Or watch as Allison systematically erased our family history and isolated my brother? The decision was made for me when I discovered, through social media, that they were hosting a housewarming party in my house and hadn't even invited me. I decided not to crash the party. Instead, I waited until the following Sunday, our traditional family dinner day. I drove to the house with a homemade apple pie, a peace offering. I rang the doorbell. I could hear music. Allison peered out, her expression hardening. Madison, this isn't a good time. I won't stay long, I forced a smile. Just brought pie for Sunday dinner. Is Ryan home? She didn't open the door wider. We have plans. Please, Allison. Just 5 minutes with my brother. She sighed dramatically. Wait here. The door slammed. Several agonizing minutes later, Ryan appeared, looking uncomfortable. Hey, Maddie, he said, not quite meeting my eyes. This really isn't a good day. It's Sunday, I said simply. Family dinner. Mom's apple pie. I held it up. Ryan glanced over his shoulder. Look, Allison and I have some friends coming over soon. Can we do this another time? Ryan, I said, my voice strained, you've canceled or ignored the last 6 times I've tried to see you. He ran a hand through his hair. Things have been busy with the house renovations. So I've heard, I cut him off. The housewarming looked nice from the photos. His face flushed. Maddie, the door suddenly yanked open. Allison stood there, arms crossed. This is exactly the kind of intrusion I'm talking about, Ryan, she said sharply. Unannounced visits, guilt trips about family traditions. I texted yesterday, I pointed out calmly. And Ryan told you we were busy, she snapped. Yet here you are anyway, forcing your way into our lives. I'm not forcing anything, I said, my voice shaking. I'm trying to maintain a relationship with my only brother. Allison rolled her eyes. Always the victim. Ryan has a new family now. Me. He doesn't need you hovering around like some sad, lonely spinster. Ryan winced. Allison, please. No, Ryan. It's time someone said it. She turned back to me, her voice rising to a shriek. You're a pathetic 40-year-old leech. Get out. And stay out of our house. Something inside me snapped. After months of watching her dismantle my family memories, isolate my brother, and now stand in the doorway of my house telling me to leave, I burst out laughing. It was a raw, almost hysterical sound that clearly startled them both. Allison's face was contorted with anger. You think this is funny? I'll call the police. Have you removed for trespassing? I wiped tears of laughter from my eyes. Oh, please do. Try to make me leave. Call the police. I'd love to see their faces. Ryan looked absolutely panicked. Madison, please. Let's not escalate this. No, Ryan, I said, suddenly calm. I've respected your wishes for months. I've watched as family heirlooms disappeared. I've tolerated being locked out of my own property. But I'm done. Allison's eyes narrowed. Your property? This is our house. Ryan inherited it from your parents. I reached into my purse and pulled out a folder. Actually, no. Ryan inherited their financial assets. I inherited the house, and I have the deed to prove it. The color drained from Allison's face. You're lying. The deed is registered in my name, I continued, opening the folder to show them. I've been letting Ryan live here rent-free to help him get back on his feet after our parents died. Ryan looked like he was about to throw up. Maddie, I can explain. Allison snatched the papers, scanning them, her expression shifting from disbelief to pure fury. She rounded on Ryan. You lied to me. You said you own this house. Ryan stammered, I was going to tell you, but all this time, Allison shrieked, we've been living in her house, making improvements to her property while she had a key and could walk in any time. She stormed back inside, grabbing her phone. I'm calling the police. This has to be fraud or something. Go ahead, I said calmly, following her. Call them. I have all the documentation right here. Ryan stood frozen between us as Allison frantically dialed 911, her hands shaking with rage. I need to report a fraud, she told the dispatcher. My husband's sister is trying to claim our house belongs to her. She's threatening us and refusing to leave our property. I waited patiently, placing my folder of documents on the new glass coffee table. 20 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. Allison immediately launched into her story. This woman is harassing us and making false claims. She needs to be removed. The house belongs to me, I explained calmly, handing over the deed, property tax receipts, and relevant portions of the will. Officer Ramirez, the younger one, examined them carefully. These appear to be in order, he said finally. The property is legally registered to Madison Reynolds. Allison's face contorted. That's impossible. Ryan told me he owned this house. All eyes turned to my brother, who seemed to shrink. Ryan? Officer Jenkins prompted. Did you misrepresent ownership of this property to your wife? Ryan's voice was barely audible. I didn't correct her assumption. So, you've been living here with your sister's permission? Ryan nodded miserably. Allison exploded. You pathetic loser. You let me believe we had assets, security. I've been planning renovations, telling everyone this was our family home. Ma'am, please lower your voice, Officer Ramirez said firmly. I will not lower my voice. I've been lied to. Deceived. She grabbed a decorative vase and hurled it against the wall, shattering it. Ma'am. Officer Jenkins stepped forward. Control yourself or we'll have to take action. Take action against me? I'm the victim here. She spun on Ryan, jabbing a finger into his chest. You spineless worm, living off your sister's charity while pretending to be a successful property owner. Ryan backed away, looking utterly broken. Allison, please, I can explain everything. Explain? Explain? She grabbed a framed wedding photo and threw it to the floor, glass scattering everywhere. That's enough, Officer Jenkins said. Ma'am, you need to calm down or you'll be leaving in our car. Leaving? This is my home. Allison screamed, reaching for another breakable object. Officer Ramirez caught her wrist. Ma'am, legally, this is not your home. And you're destroying property that doesn't belong to you. Actually, I interjected, the decorative items are theirs. I'm only asserting ownership of the house itself and specific family heirlooms. Nevertheless, Officer Jenkins said, Miss Reynolds has the right to ask anyone to leave her property. You have two options. Leave voluntarily to cool down, or we can arrest you for destruction of property and disorderly conduct. The reality finally seemed to penetrate her rage. She looked at Ryan, then at me, then at the officers. Fine, she spat. I'll go. But this isn't over. She grabbed her purse. Ryan, are you coming or staying with your precious sister? Ryan looked torn. I should go with you. We need to talk. Allison stomped toward the door, then turned for one final, vicious barb. Enjoy your empty house and your empty life, Madison. At least Ryan had the guts to try for something real, even if he had to lie about everything to get it. The door slammed so hard, a picture fell from the wall. Officer Jenkins turned to me, a sympathetic look on his face. Would you like to file a report about the damaged items, ma'am? I shook my head, suddenly exhausted. No, they're just things. After they left, I stood alone in the silent house, surrounded by the wreckage of Allison's rage. I sank onto the unfamiliar leather couch and finally, utterly, allowed myself to cry. I spent hours sitting in that empty house, alternating between tears and numb disbelief. How did we get here? This home, once so full of warmth, now felt like a battleground. I walked through each room, cataloging what was gone. Mom's kitchen, sterile and impersonal. Dad's study, filled with generic office furniture. It was as if Allison had systematically erased us. Around midnight, Ryan texted, staying at hotel tonight. Need time to think. Sorry. What was there to say? Sorry you lied to your wife? Sorry you let family treasures be sold? The hurt was too deep. I went upstairs, into what used to be my old bedroom. Allison had turned it into a home gym, stark white walls replacing the pale blue I'd chosen as a teenager. I unrolled a yoga mat and lay down, too drained to drive home. Morning brought the sound of a key in the lock. I tensed, but it was Ryan, looking haggard. You slept here, he asked, seeing my makeshift bed. Seemed easier than driving home, I replied. Where's Allison? Still at the hotel. She refused to let me sleep in the bed. Said I betrayed her. I didn't offer sympathy. Didn't you? Ryan winced. Yes, no. I don't know. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor. I never meant for any of this to happen, Maddie. What did you think would happen? I asked softly. That I'd never mention owning the house? That she'd never find out. He trailed off. When I met Allison, I was at rock bottom. No job, no girlfriend, living off my sister's charity. She seemed so strong, so put together. When she assumed I owned the house, it felt good to be seen as successful for once. So, you lied to impress her. I didn't correct her assumption, he corrected weakly. And then it snowballed. One small omission turned into this whole false life. I stood up, needing to move. And what about the family heirlooms? Was selling those part of maintaining your successful image? Shame washed over his face. That was Allison's idea. She said we needed to make the house ours by clearing out the old energy. I tried to save some things, hide them in the attic, but she's very persistent. Persistent, I repeated. Is that what we're calling it? She's not always like what you saw yesterday, Ryan said defensively. She can be loving, supportive. She helped me when I couldn't even get out of bed after Mom and Dad died. I paused by the window, looking out at the maple tree Dad had planted. Did she? I asked. Or did she find someone vulnerable and isolate him from his support system? Ryan was silent. What are you saying? I'm saying that in the 6 months you've been married, you've stopped seeing friends, missed Mom and Dad's memorial, changed the locks on family members, and let irreplaceable family treasures be sold off. Does that sound healthy to you? It's not that simple, he protested. Allison has trust issues from her past. Her ex-husband, the one who died in a workplace accident. I interrupted. Yes? Why? Have you ever verified any of her stories? Met anyone from her past? His expression told me he hadn't. Ryan, I said gently, sitting beside him, when was the last time you felt truly happy and at peace with Allison? not anxious about saying the wrong thing or walking on eggshells. He stared at his hands. I don't know. We sat in silence. Finally, Ryan spoke, his voice barely audible. I miss them so much, Maddie. Mom and Dad. Sometimes it hits me all over again that they're really gone. I know, I whispered, my own grief rising. Me too. After they died, it felt like everything good in my life collapsed. My job, Stephanie leaving, then my apartment. And you were so strong through all of it. Never falling apart. I felt like such a failure. I wasn't as strong as you think, I admitted. I just processed differently. I cried in the shower every morning for months. Threw myself into work to avoid feeling the emptiness. Ryan looked surprised. You never showed it. Because I was trying to be strong for you. I reached for his hand. That's what family does. And I repaid you by lying and letting Allison sell off family treasures. His voice broke. God, I'm so sorry, Maddie. As we sat there, Ryan's phone buzzed repeatedly with texts from Allison, alternating between rage and desperate pleading. She's always checking up on me, he said, silencing the phone. At first, I thought it was sweet. Now it feels controlling. I suggested. He nodded slowly. Last month, I met an old colleague for lunch. She tracked my location, showed up at the restaurant, made a scene about me having a secret date, even though Jake and I were just discussing a freelance project. Did you get the project? No. After Allison's scene, Jake said it wasn't a good fit after all. Ryan's shoulders slumped. I haven't had a freelance job in 2 months. What happened to all your design friends, Matt, Eliza, the whole studio crew? Allison said they were a negative influence, that they reminded me of my failure when I lost my job. He looked up suddenly. She deleted their contacts from my phone while I was sleeping. The more Ryan shared, the clearer the pattern became. I'd seen enough friends in toxic relationships to recognize the signs: isolation, financial control, belittling, constant monitoring. Ryan, I said carefully, I think you might be in an emotionally abusive relationship. He started to object, then stopped. I've had the same thought, he admitted, but then she'll do something thoughtful or seem so vulnerable about her own past trauma, and I convince myself I'm overreacting. That's part of the cycle, I explained. Tension, explosion, reconciliation, calm, then it starts all over again. We spent the next few hours talking more openly than we had in years. Ryan revealed more troubling behaviors, how Allison monitored his spending, criticized his appearance, and rewrote their relationship history to make herself the savior who fixed him. As the day progressed, Allison's texts grew increasingly frantic. Answer me right now or I'm calling the police again. To, baby, please, I'm so worried about you. I need you. I can't live without you. Ryan finally texted her, I need some space to think. Staying with a friend tonight. Her response was immediate. It's your sister, isn't it? She's turning you against me. After everything I've done for you. Ryan turned off his phone. That evening, I ordered pizza. We ate it on the back porch, reminiscing about family dinners. For the first time in months, I saw glimpses of my real brother returning, his dry humor, his thoughtfulness, his passion for design, as he showed me sketches he'd been working on in secret. Allison doesn't like me wasting time drawing, he explained. I slept in the guest room that night, Ryan on the couch. Before turning in, I gave him some research materials on emotional abuse and codependent relationships I'd found online. You don't have to decide anything tonight, I told him. Just get informed. Recognize the patterns. The next morning, I found Ryan at the kitchen table, a notepad filled with writing. I made a list, he said without preamble, of behaviors that scared or hurt me, things I've given up since meeting Allison, lies I've told to keep the peace. He pushed the 7 pages toward me. I didn't need to read it. The fact that he'd filled 7 pages overnight said everything. What do you want to do? I asked. I need time away from her to think clearly, he said. Every time I try to set boundaries, she breaks down crying or gets so angry I end up apologizing for upsetting her. You can stay here as long as you need, I assured him. It's your home, too. Ryan looked around the kitchen, at the sterile decor and the absence of our family photos. No, he said quietly. This isn't home anymore. She's erased everything that made it special. The sadness in his voice broke my heart, but his awareness gave me hope. My brother was finally seeing the truth. The confrontation we'd been dreading arrived the next afternoon in the form of a pounding on the front door, so forceful it rattled the hinges. "Ryan, I know you're in there with her. Open this door right now." Ryan and I exchanged glances from where we'd been sorting through a box of family photos we'd found stashed in the attic. "I should talk to her," he said, though his face was pale. "We'll both talk to her," I replied firmly. Allison's expression cycled rapidly from rage to calculated sweetness when Ryan opened the door with me standing beside him. "Baby," she cooed, ignoring me completely. "I've been so worried. Why haven't you answered my calls?" She reached for him, but he stepped back. "I needed space to think, Allison," he said, his voice steadier than I expected. She shot me a venomous look. "I bet your sister has been filling your head with lies about me." "Actually," Ryan countered, "Madison has barely shared her opinions. I've been doing my own thinking." Allison tried to push past him into the house. "Well, you can think at home. Let's go." Ryan didn't move. "I'm staying here for now." Her sweet facade cracked. "In your sister's house? Like a child running home to mommy? How pathetic." "It's not pathetic to need family support," he replied. "Family support?" She scoffed. "More like family control. She's always been jealous of our relationship, trying to keep you dependent on her." I remained silent, recognizing this was Ryan's critical moment to establish his own boundaries. "That's not true," Ryan said. "Madison has been nothing but supportive. She let me live here rent-free, never pressured me, and kept quiet when I lied about owning the house. Because she wants to control you." Allison insisted. "If you were independent, she'd have no one to feel superior to." Ryan shook his head. "You know what's interesting? Before I met you, I was starting to get back on my feet, freelancing again, reconnecting with friends. It's only since we got together that I've become isolated and dependent." Allison's strategy shifted instantly. Her eyes welled with tears, her voice becoming fragile. "How can you say that? After everything I've done for you? I saved you when you were at your lowest. No one else wanted you then." I bit my tongue, fighting the urge to contradict her manipulation. "That's not true either," Ryan said gently. "I had friends and family who cared. You just convinced me they didn't." Allison's tears vanished as quickly as they'd appeared. She pulled a folder from her oversized purse. "Fine. If that's how you want to play this, I've consulted a lawyer. As your wife, I have rights to this property regardless of whose name is on the deed." She thrust a document toward us. "This is a formal claim of marital property rights. Since we've been living here and making improvements as a married couple, I'm entitled to at least half ownership." I took the paper, scanning it quickly. "This isn't a legal document, Allison. It's just something you typed up," my lawyer said. "You haven't spoken to a lawyer," I interrupted calmly. "No real attorney would prepare this. It's full of misapplied legal terms and has no proper formatting or case citations." Her face reddened. "You don't know everything, Madison. Just because you think you're so smart with your real estate business." "Actually," I cut in, "I do know about property law. It's part of my job, and I've already consulted my attorney about this situation." It wasn't entirely true. I'd just made an appointment, but the bluff worked. Allison faltered. "Ryan," she tried again, her voice softening, "please, baby, come home. We can work this out. I love you." Ryan looked torn, and for a moment, I feared he might relent. Then he straightened his shoulders. "I need time, Allison. I'm not saying our marriage is over, but I need space to think clearly, and I need you to respect that." "Respect?" She spat, "like you respected me by lying about owning this house, making me look like a fool?" "You're right," Ryan acknowledged. "I was wrong to lie. That's on me. But your reaction, throwing things, screaming at me in front of the police? That's not healthy either." "So, this is all my fault?" Her voice rose dangerously. "No one's saying that," I interjected. "But right now, you both need space to cool down and think." Allison rounded on me. "Stay out of this. This is between me and my husband." "Madison stays," Ryan said firmly. "This is her house, and she's my sister." Something in his tone must have finally penetrated. Allison stepped back, reassessing. Her gaze turned calculating. Fine, take your time, but remember, I've made sacrifices for you, too, Ryan. I've put my whole life on hold for our relationship. She turned toward her car, then paused to deliver a parting shot. By the way, I invited my parents to stay with us next month. They've already bought non-refundable tickets. After she drove away, Ryan let out a long breath. Her parents aren't coming. She doesn't even speak to them. She's told me 3 different stories about why they're estranged. The manipulation never stops, does it? I observed. No, Ryan said sadly. It doesn't. The next day, I met with my attorney, Catherine Mendez, a sharp lawyer who had handled my real estate contracts for years. Since you're the legal owner, she explained, you have every right to determine who lives in the property. The fact that you allowed your brother to stay rent-free doesn't give his wife any claim to ownership, especially in such a short-term marriage. What about the improvements they've made? I asked. Unless they can document substantial permanent improvements that significantly increase the property value, it's a non-issue. Painting walls and buying furniture doesn't constitute a legal claim. Catherine prepared a formal letter clarifying ownership and politely, but firmly, requesting Allison remove her belongings within 2 weeks. I'll also prepare a formal eviction notice as a backup, she advised. Hopefully, it won't be necessary. Meanwhile, Ryan had been doing his own research. He hesitantly contacted 3 old friends from his design agency days. Their responses were immediate and supportive, confirming what I'd told him. His support network had never abandoned him. Matt invited me to lunch tomorrow, he told me, sounding both nervous and excited. Said their firm is swamped and could use freelance help. That's great, Ryan, I said sincerely. You're incredibly talented. They'd be lucky to have you. His smile faded. What if Allison shows up again, makes a scene? Then Matt will see exactly why you've been out of touch, I pointed out. Real friends understand when someone's in a difficult situation. 2 days later, Ryan returned from his lunch meeting with actual work assignments and a provisional offer to rejoin the agency part-time. It felt so normal, he marveled, like the past 2 years of fog were lifting. That evening, we hosted an impromptu dinner with 4 of Ryan's closest friends. The house felt alive again with conversation and laughter. As I watched my brother engaging passionately in discussions about design trends and industry gossip, I saw sparks of his old self returning. After his friends left, Ryan made a decision. I'm going to ask Allison for a separation, he said. I need time to figure out who I am without her influence. The next morning, we drafted a compassionate but firm email, as Catherine had advised against an in-person conversation given Allison's volatility. Ryan explained his need for space, offered to arrange for her to collect her belongings, and suggested individual counseling. Allison's response came within minutes. A single line, "You'll regret this." Catherine helped us file a temporary restraining order after that ominous message, citing the previous property destruction and threatening behavior. The court granted a limited order. 3 days later, we discovered why. A neighbor called, saying they'd seen someone matching Allison's description trying to enter through the back door. We rushed over to find a broken window and several rooms in disarray. Most disturbing was the master bedroom, where Allison had spray-painted "Liar" across the wall and slashed the mattress. The few remaining family photos had been defaced, my face scratched out in each one. We need to call the police, I said, pulling out my phone. Ryan looked devastated. I never thought she'd go this far. The security cameras I'd installed after our initial confrontation had captured everything. Officer Ramirez returned with a new partner. This is a clear violation of the restraining order, he confirmed. We'll put out an APB for her vehicle. They found Allison at a bar nearby, still with spray paint residue on her hands. She was arrested for breaking and entering, vandalism, and violation of a court order. While Ryan struggled with guilt over her arrest, a more complete picture of Allison emerged during the legal proceedings. The widow story? Entirely fabricated. She had 2 previous marriages, both ending in restraining orders against her. Her supposed deceased husband was very much alive and living in Arizona, with a restraining order of his own. I should have seen the signs, Ryan despaired. Manipulators are experts at what they do, I reminded him, and you were vulnerable after losing mom and dad. As Allison faced legal consequences, Ryan began the process of filing for divorce. Supported by friends and a good therapist, the facade she had constructed crumbled completely when police discovered many of our family heirlooms in a storage unit rented in her name. Items she had claimed were donated or sold, but had actually been hoarding for herself. The recovery of these treasures, Dad's books, Mom's jewelry box, the photo albums, brought a measure of healing to both of us. Each reclaimed item felt like reclaiming a piece of our family history. The road ahead would be long, with legal proceedings and emotional recovery still to navigate. But for the first time in years, it felt like we were moving in the right direction. 6 months passed, bringing changes neither Ryan nor I could have anticipated. The family home, once a battleground of tension and deception, gradually transformed back into a place of comfort and healing. After the chaos, Ryan and I made the decision to temporarily live in the house together. What began as a practical arrangement, Ryan needed a safe place, and I wanted to restore the home, evolved into a meaningful period of reconnection. We repainted each room together, choosing colors that honored our parents' tastes while bringing in fresh energy. Remember how Dad used to measure our heights on this door frame? Ryan asked one afternoon as we sanded woodwork in the kitchen. I ran my fingers over the faint mark. Every birthday without fail. He was so excited when you finally outgrew him. I was 16, Ryan laughed. He acted like I'd won an Olympic medal. These shared memories, once painful, now brought bittersweet comfort. We were rediscovering our history, not just through stories, but through the physical space we were reclaiming. Ryan's therapy was showing results. The anxious, diminished man who had walked on eggshells around Allison was gradually replaced by someone more resembling my confident, creative brother. He'd secured a part-time position at his old design firm. The creative director actually thanked me for coming back. He told me one evening over dinner. Said clients had been asking specifically for my work. Of course they were, I replied. Your talent didn't go anywhere, Ryan. It was just buried for a while. My own therapy had been revealing too. I'd always seen myself as the strong one, but sessions helped me recognize how I'd sometimes enabled Ryan's dependency by swooping in to solve problems rather than supporting him in developing his own solutions. There's a difference between helping and rescuing, my therapist explained. Helping empowers. Rescuing can inadvertently disempower. This insight changed our dynamic. I found myself consulting Ryan on decisions about the house rather than simply informing him. He, in turn, began taking more initiative. The legal aftermath of Allison's actions proved less traumatic than we'd feared. Her previous pattern of behavior worked against her in court, and she eventually accepted a plea deal that included mandatory therapy, community service, and continued legal distance from both Ryan and me. Do you ever wonder if she's getting help? Ryan asked one Sunday, as we prepared our now traditional family dinner. I hope so, I answered honestly. Not for our sake, but for hers and for whoever comes next in her life. Ryan nodded thoughtfully. I've been thinking a lot about forgiveness lately. And I'm not there yet, he admitted. But I'm working toward not letting anger consume me. That's progress, right? Huge progress, I agreed. The recovery of our family heirlooms was one of the most healing aspects. Each item Allison had hidden away was like recovering a piece of our parents' legacy. Mom's hand-painted serving dishes once again graced our Sunday dinner table. Dad's leather-bound first editions returned to the study shelves. The Tiffany lamp illuminated the corner where Mom had always sat to read. Most precious were the photo albums, which we spent several weekends organizing. The images captured moments we'd almost forgotten. Summer vacations, Dad attempting to teach us to fish, Mom's triumphant smile when she received her master's. Our history, tangible and irreplaceable. As spring arrived, Ryan began talking about finding his own place. Not because I want to leave, he clarified, but because I need to know I can stand on my own. I understand, I told him, and I did. The house will always be here. You're home when you need it. We sat on the back porch watching fireflies, a glass of Dad's favorite bourbon between us. I've been thinking, Ryan said after a comfortable silence. Maybe it's time we talk about what happens to the house long term. What do you mean? It's legally yours, but it's our family home. Maybe we should consider making it officially shared property. The suggestion touched me deeply. Are you sure? After everything with Allison, he explained, that's exactly why. She tried to claim something that wasn't hers. This is different. This is acknowledging what's always been true, that our parents left their legacy to both of us, just in different forms. We decided to consult with Catherine about creating a family trust for the property, ensuring it would remain a touchstone for both of us, regardless of where life took us. In July, exactly a year after the confrontation with Allison, Ryan signed the lease on a small but charming apartment near his design firm. It felt right somehow that this step toward independence came as we approached the anniversary of when he nearly lost himself completely. It's walking distance to work, he explained, showing me around. And there's a spare room for when I start taking on private clients again. I noticed framed family photos already arranged on his bookshelf, not hidden away, but prominently displayed. Among them, a new addition, a recent picture of Ryan and me on the porch of the family home, laughing as we attempted to recreate a childhood pose. Looks like you're ready, I said, squeezing his shoulder. Thanks to you, he replied. No, I corrected gently. You did the hard work. I just provided a safe space for you to do it. As I drove home that evening, I reflected on the tumultuous journey of the past year. What had begun as a property dispute had evolved into something far more significant, a reclamation not just of physical space, but of our relationship, our family history, and our individual strengths. The lessons had been hard-won, but invaluable. I'd learned that supporting someone doesn't mean solving all their problems. Ryan had learned that love shouldn't require erasing yourself or your past. We'd both learned that honesty, even when uncomfortable, builds stronger foundations than comfortable lies ever could. The house, when I pulled into the driveway, welcomed me with familiar warmth. It was quieter now without Ryan's daily presence, but not empty. Never empty. It remained filled with memories, with history, with the essence of the family that had shaped us both. I poured a small glass of bourbon and raised it toward the family portrait above the fireplace. Mom and Dad, smiling broadly, Ryan and I flanking them. We're okay, I told them softly. We made it through. And I knew, with a certainty that transcended logic, that they would have been proud of both their children. Have you ever had to stand your ground when someone tried to take what was rightfully yours? Or perhaps you've watched a loved one get caught in a toxic relationship. I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories about family, boundaries, and finding strength in difficult situations. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are the ones that ultimately bring the most healing.